Well, we bring you in on this week's podcast, this week's sports news podcast, and this has been a brilliant week, a very exciting week, and a crazy week overall. Many different crazy things have been happening, including Harry Kane has gone to Bayern Munich. Crazy. Honestly, I was not finding that anywhere. They were giving high bids, but I thought Harry Kane would stay for another year. And it's massive for Tottenham. They are low on decent players at the moment. So they are going to struggle this season. So we will start this episode with the Premier League here. We'll go through the Bunnings NPC and the New Zealand Provincial Championship. Then we'll go to FIFA Womens World Cup, which is really interesting at the moment. Then the NRL and then the Rugby World Cup 2023. Well, very interesting week it has been for the Premier League. To start off, we've got Harry Kane going to Bayern Munich. And he's a massive player for Tottenham. 180 million New Zealand dollars he is taken to go to Bayern Munich, plus 36 million New Zealand dollar add-ons, beating the Bundesliga transfer record by 68 million New Zealand dollars. So that's massive, not only for Tottenham and the Bundesliga and Bayern Munich, as for world football. They are setting the standard now. And a lot of money is getting thrown around at the moment. And then some even more costly transfers that have been happening throughout this transfer first season. But, man, Harry Kane, big move for him. I didn't see it happening, really. I thought he'd stay with Tottenham Hotspur, my team I support. I don't know why I support them. They're not looking good this season, but I'll stick with them through and through. But really, team, how did it end up like this? Like, how did Tottenham end up having to lose him, Harry Kane, and now they don't really have many options to go to replace Harry Kane? And it's massive because Kane, a player, 26 or something goals last season, massive amount for Tottenham. He carried them the whole way. Son, Richarlison didn't really have a good season at all. And so Kane at 30 years old and having 435 appearances altogether and 280 goals has gone to Bayern Munich. And disappointing for, it's not disappointing. They've got the money for Tottenham Hotspur and the new coach, manager of Tottenham Hotspur. But really, Ange Postecoglou, he'll have to build this team up now. With only Son captain, Son will be a good captain, but Son captain now and Spurs plus Richarlison starting striker, I don't know where they're going to get their goals from. Like we saw last week against Brentford, 2-2 draw. Nothing really. Wasn't surprised about it either. I thought there would have been a chance for Tottenham, but really Brentford were too good and was a draw. They held in Tottenham, but nothing. Nothing's happening for them. This will probably be one of their worst seasons. And who knows, they might end up the bottom group side of the table at the end of the season. And that wouldn't actually be that surprising, as Chelsea did that last season, but they have absolutely packed their lineups this year. I'm looking at Mudryk, Jackson. He's actually a brilliant youngster who's coming into the side. I've seen him in the warm-up matches. Very good. And same as Mudryk. He is a brilliant player. Ended last season well. And I think Chelsea could be top 5 at this rate. This is a brilliant side. And then Liverpool too. They are two sides didn't do too well last season. And now are maybe coming up the ladder to hopefully give them a chance at playing top quality football. And so Chelsea, they have got into the transfer list a lot this season, and also have taken Caicedo last week for 140 million New Zealand dollars, so not that far off Harry Kane's. So a big sale and transfer for Chelsea, so they'll be really happy. They'll think they can come into the season really pushing it, as Liverpool and Chelsea both drew in their first match. They won't be too happy, but I mean, both teams won't be happy, and there can only be one winner or two draws. So really the transfer list has been at top at the moment, with Ward Prowse going to West Ham too. And that's another big move. I think West Ham will be really happy with that. Southampton, nowhere near I don't think they'll get promoted. I think without Ward Prowse saying nothing. West Ham now, I think they can stay out of relegation and stay up the ladder. So big moves in the transfer list. Haaland now. Is he going to play another incredible tournament this year? I think so. 2 goals in his first match. Haaland, incredible, on a goal spree, started brilliantly. I think he's just going to be one of the best in the business, and no way, I'm 100% putting him in Ballon d'Or chances. I'd put him over Messi any day, even though Messi won the World Cup. Nah, I'm not putting Messi over Haaland. Haaland is the man. Well, yeah, a draw for Chelsea and Liverpool really put hopes that they're really hopeful, these two teams, to do a lot better than last season. Last season was a terrible season for both of them, both looking for higher ranks. And then last round, Man United nearly shocked by the Wolverhampton Wolves. If only Martial hadn't scored in the last 10 minutes or so, they would have been under the pump. And that would have been crazy. And I reckon this weekend, Man United versus Tottenham, anything could happen. Like, Tottenham, they had quite a wake-up call against Brentford, but that's the same for Man United and Wolverhampton Wolves. So really, I'm thinking, man, this could be a close match. Never rule Tottenham out. But never be certain they're going to win either. It happened last year a lot. Then we've got Tottenham, ever hopeful, unlikely. I'm sorry, Tottenham. I'm probably not your biggest fan at the moment. And Postecoglou, got a job to do, man. You have a job to do. A massive side to wake up. This morning we had Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United, which was actually pretty close. Nottingham Forest woke up to be woken up at home, and Lucky Wood was there. He scored in the 89th minute against Nottingham Forest to seal it 2-1. But, man, I think Sheffield United could cause some upsets this season. Team coming up, promoted, and I reckon they could top 15, top 10 maybe. Anything, man. Well, we are going on to my Super Brew Premier League thing, Premier League pool, and it's pretty much, as this is my Super Brew Premier League, and it is an app you can get and pretty much predict the scores in each match. And I've created my own for all followers. You guys can join, and it's pretty much just predict, and you get points for however however close you are to the score. I've looked in so far this weekend. Fulham to lose to Brentford 3-1. I think Brentford are still in form from last season. Liverpool to beat Bournemouth, not surprising. 3-0. I don't think it was going to be a blowout. I just think Liverpool aren't going to win 6-0 this season. Oh, 9-0 was it? 9-0 maybe. 6-0, 1-0. One of the two. Anyway, then there's Brighton to beat the Wolves 2-1. I think Brighton are too good at the moment, but Wolves are too good too. So it'll be a close match. Now I haven't put in my predictions for Tottenham vs Man United. And I'm going to go with Tottenham because I want Tottenham. I love Tottenham. I'm going to say a high-scoring match, 3-2. Tottenham beat Man United. Come on, Tottenham! Hopefully that will happen. I've locked that in. And then now we got Man City, Newcastle. I think that'll be a really good match. But I think Man City, Hound will be good. But I reckon it'll be a draw, 2-2. That's my guess. As Newcastle are good enough. I reckon they are an up-and-coming side. I think they can level up to Man City's level at the moment. Man City are very good, but, big but there, Newcastle are a team up-and-coming, ready for this season. And I'm telling you now, anything can happen this season. Man City, I'm not actually backing them for this Premier League. I don't want them to win because they've won too many. Then we got Aston Villa, Everton. That's a tough one, but I think Aston Villa win 2-1. A lot of close games this week. Yeah, you'd be having a good time watching these matches. Chelsea, I think, will be too good for West Ham, even with Ward Prowse in there. 3-0, 3-1. I think West Ham could maybe give Chelsea a fright, but Chelsea will be too good this season. Arsenal, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are getting nilled. 3-0. A lot of 3-0s for me. I don't know why. Just the way it goes. I will run down how to use Super Brew at the end of the video, but really it's a good idea to use it. It's a really exciting thing, and you can join my pool for Premier League and Rugby World Cup too. But anyway, so we get on with it now, and pretty much we might go now into the Bunnings NPC. Premier League, we've talked about you enough. Bunnings NPC, and this is interesting. New Zealand Rugby, I think it was on the breakdown or and a lot of podcasts and things like that. They've been saying, New Zealand Rugby have been coming out and they've been saying they think they will stop the Bunnings NPC soon as it is too much money going into support the Super Rugby Pacific too. And I mean, I get why we don't want all our money going into, we don't want too much money going to these sort of different types of sports things in New Zealand, and we are quite low on our economy. But one question I'm thinking about is, where will younger players play through looking into the future of New Zealand Rugby? Because are we going to play through the Heartland Championship? And I don't know if that's a good enough base. We need that next level. And maybe it is using an unpopular sort of way. They can't really do it without. Maybe they use smaller facilities and all that, so they're not spending as much money. It's a real tough one, I think, for New Zealand Rugby. They'll want it to continue because it's such a close tournament at the moment. But how are they going to support the funds into it? And maybe that comes down to what are we looking for in the future of New Zealand rugby? Are we looking for a young, working on the young players or the old players? Are we looking to... It's pretty much whether we spend money and have a better team or have better selections for the All Blacks, or we just can it and just have a worse fundamental gameplay for NPC, the Bunnings NPC. And I wouldn't be too surprised if they can it, but I mean, how many people are supporting it at the moment? Quite a lot, actually. It's more about the supporters. Are lots of supporters going to come every week? Maybe they make it smaller, so lots of supporters come to watch a few specific games, and you're still getting the right amount. You're not paying too much money, and then you're still getting the young players having a base support line to come through and show these Super Rugby and All Black selectors what they've got. And I just don't know how they'll work it at the moment. But to get on to the actual matches in the Bunnings NPC, we have Northland and Southland. It was a very close derby between those two teams, and I think they're probably going to be not too high in the ladders this season, but they can still come up. They can still do whatever. We've seen so many upsets so far, and I don't know what to think about it. It's too close to really review how everything's going to go during this next few rounds. But like the teams I really think can win are Tasman. I think beating Auckland was a massive goal and a massive push through to getting a better side and showing what they're made of. And I think that Tasman team can really do it this season. I think they're still missing a few players to the Rugby World Cup, but that doesn't stop them, I don't think. They are still a team that has a good base and a really good attack, especially with Levi O'Moore. He's a massive player. Run through any team. Then we've got Taranaki. I think they've played 3 out of 3 wins so far, and pretty much 3 games in a week and a half maybe, and that's quite a lot. And they've still won 3. And I think with Kalen Boshier, Peter Gasso, Kula, they've got a really good pack, and I think they can really show that they were really pushed to the subs last few matches, as they had quite a few in a quick succession. But anyway, also I think a team that can do it, that can really push other teams to limit at the moment, would be North Harbour. They are a really strong side. They have lost 2, I'm pretty sure, but they've been close against Hawke's Bay and Canterbury, 2 teams that are on at their best at the moment. Canterbury, reigning champions, I think they won last year. Well, they're a big side anyway, as what they've always been. And with Bryn Gatlin, Jamie Booth, Sean Stevenson, and Mark Talia. Mark Talia over at the Rugby World Cup, though. It's a really strong side. And a lot of young players coming through too. That could really be making Super Rugby teams and All Blacks teams later on in their careers. Upcoming matches this week, match week, we have North Harbour, Auckland. I think that'll be a close one. Auckland aren't at their best, and North Harbour, a team really coming up, as I've been saying. And then this is today, and then Wellington versus Southland. I think Wellington will be able to take this. Southland, not a greatly strong team. And then Canterbury, Manawatu. Again, Manawatu, not a very strong team at the moment. It's disappointing for them, but did they win last week? No. They lost. They were pretty close to Taranaki. They were coming back, but Taranaki were able to seal it. And Canterbury, I think they're too strong for Manawatu. Then Northland, Tasman again. Hawke's Bay, Otago. Hawke's Bay, a strong team. It's a bit lopsided in this, but really I think there'll be a lot of shock losses during this season. And then we got Waikato, Taranaki, two teams that are quite even at the moment. I think they'll be a very close match. I reckon Taranaki can really push it to this Waikato side, a traditionally strong team. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Wellington, Tasman, and midweek game. I think that will be probably one of the best games of this season. And Wellington are really, another traditionally strong side. And then Tasman are building up, so that's been strong over the last few years, which is really good for the side. And I think this match will show who's actually the boss of the business at the moment. So now we will head into the FIFA Womens World Cup, which is actually really close. It's been so close the last few matches. Every match so far. Especially in these finals, it's too close to really guess who's going to win. And tonight we have Sweden-Australia. That'll be a really close match again. Sweden going out to Spain 2-1, and it was a really close match. Sweden should have gone through, I reckon. I was cheering for Sweden, but I think Spain are a really strong side still at the moment, with Paraguay a really top goal scorer, not top goal scorer this tournament, but she's really good at scoring goals, especially in this finals, massive goals that really determine the game. And she's only 18, I'm pretty sure, or 19, one of the two. And she's a teenager anyway, and it's pretty big to be playing these big matches as a teenager and being so successful. Which means Spain could really be quite destructive in the final against England tomorrow night at 10 p.m. New Zealand time. But Spain versus Sweden, 67% possession to Spain and 13 shots compared to Sweden's 6. So they did really cut Sweden off, which is really what you have to do, because that Sweden attack can really strike well. And it was well cut off by Spain. Going into the England versus Aussie game, and that was a good match until the last 20 minutes, pretty much. England, it was pretty 50-50, but England cut out Australia quite a lot, and in the last 20 minutes, they tore apart the Aussie defence, and that's what won it. The Australian side wasn't that good, other than the Kerr brilliant go out of the box, the stunner from Sam Kerr, but she didn't do enough to win it. And I think it'll be a really close final, and third with fourth final between Sweden and England, Australia and England and Spain. I'm probably going to back England, a team that's really strong at the moment. They beat Australia 3-1. But you can't keep out any team in this World Cup. Anything can happen. And we've seen that the whole World Cup. It's really interesting to see how this is going to work in the future, especially next World Cup. It's a really close tournament at the moment. No team's really standing out, especially who we thought would be USA. But no, not this time. Anyway, well, going to the England versus Spain game, we have it's going to be a really close game. Lauren James, I'm excited to see her back, even though I'm not really excited. She shouldn't have done what she did, but I think everyone's excited to see her back, as she is in the football side of things, not the discipline. But 3 assists, top assists, without playing since the round of 16. And that's pretty phenomenal. And to see her this final, I think she's going to be a massive playmaker in England's style. And to beat Australia so well by so much without Lauren James shows how big that England side is. England definitely favourites to win, but Spain never block them out. Never, ever do that to them. They are such a good team when it comes to anything. England have won 11 of their last 13 encounters with Spain, but that doesn't mean anything. Spain are coming up the ladder at the moment, which is really showing. And every team's really levelling out with the other team. USA, they've gone down. And then teams like Spain and what were the others? Sweden. I think they were quite low one point there. But it's anyone's guess who can win this World Cup. Both teams have never made a final, which is the first time that both teams in a final have never made one before, other than the first one, obviously. And Spain really doing this well this World Cup. They've scored 17 goals in their 6 matches so far this World Cup, which is, I think, one of the most, probably the most in every team in the World Cup so far. But they have conceded 8 goals, the most by a team to reach the final ever. Still, though, never rule out Spain. I'm going to end on that. On the final, never rule out Spain, but I'm backing England. Sorry. Then the bronze final is Sweden's fourth, third, and fourth final. So their 4th bronze medal match, which is a lot. And I think they've got the experience to do it. I think Australia at home, though, and it'll be a ripper, honestly. Only once have Australia lost consecutive games in a World Cup. And this will mean that will lose consecutive games. So Aussie will be wanting to keep that statistic alive as long as they can, especially throughout this World Cup. Sweden are unbeaten in their last 3 encounters of Australia. So big sides there. And Sweden, although they are the favourites, never in this World Cup stop knowing who's going to win. So many upsets, and you're never going to know. Never, ever are you going to know who's going to win until it's all over, obviously. Illustead is from Sweden is in a race with Miyazawa for the Golden Boot. Miyazawa's already knocked out, of course, but 1 point difference between the two. Illustead on 4, Miyazawa on 5. I think Illustead, if she scores a goal, will really, I think it won't be on her top of her mind, but I think it'll be there because it's not such a big match to win this match. It's not a final or anything like a big final. Anyway, well, last week we saw, a week ago, when we saw France face Australia in the penalties, it went to 20 penalties, and that's how close it is at the moment. Everything is happening. We are expecting, but we have to expect the unexpected. Nothing's going to go to plan in a World Cup, and we knew that. But it's shown us a lot more this World Cup. NRL, going to this part of the show, and NRL, it's really close at the moment. It's Warriors, the team, obviously I support as I'm a Kiwi. Warriors again. They have changed their whole point of view from supporters, they are not the team that loses in the last 10 minutes. They are the team that wins in the last 10 minutes. So they showed that last night, with a comeback 29-22 over Manly Sea Eagles with Waitini Zelezniak. Dylan Waitini Zelezniak is probably the best finisher at the moment in the game. He is brilliant. Top try scorer, I'm pretty sure. And, man, you cannot keep him from scoring. Man, he won them the match with Shaun Johnson. Obviously, he has been brilliant this season too. Those two players are absolutely brilliant at the moment. Shaun Johns, Waitini Zelezniak scored not long left to play, 22 all, and then Waitini Zelezniak scores, and then conversion by Shaun Johnson, and to seal it in the last minute, they scored a drop goal. And really, I'm thinking Warriors can do it this year. This is the year that's going to be, and I think they can do it. Even though we've only played the Panthers once and we lost them, I think we can still get through. And the Broncos, that'll be a close. Those two teams will be the toughest, definitely. Telling you now, they're going to be the toughest to get through. But I think we can still do it. The Warriors up the wire. And coming to finals, it is probably the closest in a long time. It's massive at the moment. Going into the matches this week, we have seen the Warriors beat the Manly Sea Eagles. And the Cowboys in the midweek game on Thursday lost to the Sharks 32-12, up the Sharkies. I'm a Sharkies fan if I'm not Warriors. So Cowboys down. Eels big. They're dropping this season, I think. Roosters beat them 34-12, and it was sort of a hiding. And I'm just disappointed in the Eels. Team that has a lot of potential just doesn't really show that potential that they have. West Tigers, I don't think they're just not gonna come off that bottom ladder. They are just not playing well enough to win games at the moment. Panthers, Titans. If Panthers lose a game, and it's actually possibility with Cowboys, Eels, and Titans, the Broncos could go on to go through the first, which would be really interesting. It'll be the first time in a couple of years, wouldn't it? And Broncos, have to beat the Raiders and the Storm, two teams trying to get that, fighting for the Warriors and the third, fourth, fifth spots at the moment. So it's going to be a real tough ride for the Broncos, but I reckon they can stick with the Panthers, and that'll be a really close finish. Looking at the table, Broncos first, but Panthers still have to play another game, but really close. I think if it does get drawn, it'll be Panthers will win surely by points difference. Then we've got Storm and Sharks. If Warriors lose a match, drop a match to Storm, then I reckon Storm could come up because they've got a close points difference, and Warriors could drop down 1 or 2, which would be disappointing for them. But Storm really are fighting side. They're not as good as last year, but they are still a team that is in that top 8, really. Same as Raiders. Knights surprising this season. Rabbitohs, they always seem to be around that area. And with a last match of the season for them, I'm pretty sure it is Rabbitohs Roosters, which will be a really rough game. We saw that last year. That was a massive match. But so West Tigers, Dragons, Bulldogs all at the bottom again. Dolphins in their first season, not the greatest of seasons, but I think they can take positives out of it. They had a good start. And anyway, to get on with it, we go to the Rugby World Cup 2023. And it's crazy how coming up to the World Cup, not far at all, and we're seeing stupid happenings around the field, especially Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell, high tackle, he's done it before many times, and he's not carried with a ban. And it's so stupid. Really, they've got to fix what they're doing. World Rugby are reviewing it, but how can we fix what's happening, how these decisions are happening? It's definitely bias. I'm telling you now, it should be 6 weeks, not 0 weeks, 0. And that's crazy to see that happening like that. And it was quite a bad tackle. He didn't make any attempt to drop his shoulder to get low or anything. There was no mitigation, and it was purely a bad tackle. Should have been 6 weeks. And that's been the real discussion over World Rugby at the moment. And if if he doesn't get banned by World Rugby, and England end up going to the winning the World Cup, which I'm not expecting them to do, but if they win the World Cup and Farrell carries them, Farrell will get so much controversy throughout media. I mean, I'll feel sorry for him, but I won't. Like, it was his fault. It was pretty much the people who made the decision's fault, and it'll be a rigged World Cup, really. It'll be a waste of pretty much time. Then we got George Moala being banned for 10 weeks. That is crazy. It was a bad, terrible tackle. He lifted him and dropped him on his back, but I don't see any difference. I think it's a bit worse for Moala. He did it. It was a bit of it's a whole different side of things with the tackles, but I don't see Moala getting 10-week ban and Farrell getting 0. It's definitely rigged, and Moala's going to miss probably all the World Cup. That's disappointing, and they've really got to fix that. Injury reports in France, not the favourites anymore. Intermac is injured and out for all the World Cup with a ruptured ACL. And that is disappointing for France. I mean, I'm an All Blacks fan, but I am actually really disappointed for France. It's sort of ringing a bit for New Zealand. New Zealand have got more chance, but never rule France out, and definitely not when they've got a replacement that's not far off Intermac's ability with Jellybet. He's very good. And then France also have another injury with Cyril Bale, who's out for 5 or 6 weeks with a calf injury. So they're struggling at the moment, France, but everyone goes through these injury woes, and New Zealand are still going through that with Frizzell and Retallick with minor injuries, but they should be ready for the World Cup. Retallick will be fine for the World Cup, same as Frizzell. Frizzell's just a tweak. So New Zealand will be fine going to the World Cup, thank God. But anyway, some big misnamings. We talked about our last podcast with Hooper not being named, even though he's injured. Where are they? He's going to come back. I'm telling you now, he'll be fine coming back off the injury. Where is the experience in that team? I think they're just looking forward to the next World Cup. But still, Pollard no. Him and Am will be fine for the World Cup, I think. I think they'll just injure somebody. And that's how the South Africans will do it. They'll be trying to scare every other team. Shock the other teams by making them think that they are out of the World Cup. I mean, it's a fine tactic, but I don't know where it's come from. They should have just named them in the squad. It would have been much easier. Nothing to worry about. And obviously, there's no way Farrell's not Pollard is not going to the World Cup. I don't think. He'll definitely go. They'll injure one of the halfbacks because they've got 4. And then they've only got one or two first fives. So they're just going to chuck Pollard in there and injure one of the halfbacks. I mean, it'll be a bit tragic for the halfbacks who had to injure themselves. But I just don't see anything in their tactics at the moment here for South Africa. Don't think it's going to get them to win the World Cup. And then we have Van Portfleet missing the tournament, meaning Youngs will be the likely favourite to start at halfback for England. So England also having an injury woes. It's the big teams that we're looking at here. And when the big teams are having injuries, it's pretty much Dan Carter syndrome. And Dan Carter got injured, and then Eric Cruden got injured, and then Stephen Donald had to come in and play. It was just crazy. Everyone's just had... It's pretty crazy. Anything can happen in a World Cup. And BV ended up winning the World Cup for New Zealand. So I can't see how this is all going to work out. But Scotland, Van der Merwe, big player for them. Nigel, they'll be hoping it's nothing too bad, but he should be back soon in a couple of days. I don't think they won't play him this weekend. I'm pretty sure they're playing. Who they're playing, I don't know. But anyway, going on to matches last week. Well, we had England and Wales. I posted a video about this, but England and Wales, two teams in a match that was very close. England, they are a team that is not at its best, neither is Wales. It was a decently close match. And similarly for France and Scotland, except France and Scotland are two big teams. France picked a bigger side this week, but they didn't play as well. And Intermac got injured, so they'll take a lot of negatives out of that match, but a lot of positives too. They did drop in the last 15 minutes for Scotland, who made a massive comeback. And I think they're going to be big in this World Cup. Never leave them out. Same as Ireland, I think. France, obviously, second favourites now. All Blacks, favourites. And then you can't really leave out England or Argentina. I mean, you sort of want to, but you can't, because they are teams that do tend to create shocks in the World Cups. So Scotland have announced their Rugby World Cup squad. It's just the stock standard squad we were expecting, I'm pretty sure. And Wales are naming their squad tomorrow. So big announcements coming up in World Rugby. It's a crazy time at the moment. And then we have the fixtures. So I'm pretty sure this weekend Wales are playing South Africa. And that'll actually be quite a good one, as South Africa aren't at their best, I don't think. They lost to teams like New Zealand and not Argentina, just New Zealand. But they're not at their best. Playing South Africa tomorrow morning, New Zealand time. And I think South Africa will be able to take it, as Wales aren't at their best at the moment. I think Liam Williams and Dan Bigger are out for the match. And then there's Italy, Romania. Italy should be able to win that. These are some good warm-up matches, though, for these teams. It's just the worry about getting injuries. And they've got to really have a lot of depth in their team. And that's where they have to bring those squads to travel over to Europe. So with extra players, so they can play them and not injure their best players. And then we got how Intermac got injured, and that was massive. And he had to play though, because they're trying to get those players back into rugby, back playing into international football, rugby. Then we got Ireland, England. Ireland it depends how the squads are. I don't know the squads for each team. And France, Fiji, that'll be decent. I think Fiji will want to bring it to them. But, so the Ireland vs England match, we've got Furlong, Sheehan, Porter, Ryan, Byrne, O'Mahony, Prendergast, Van der Fleer, Gibson Park, Byron, Aki, Ringrose, Hansen, Lowe, Keenan. So that's actually a really strong Irish squad team there. And then for England, we've got Jamie George, big names, Itoje, Earl, Vunipola, Youngs. Of course, then Paul Fleet was taken out last match. Then we've got Ford, Daly, Tuolagi, Watson. So a lot of big players. Stewart, he's in form too. But a lot of big players in that matchup. And I think that's where injuries could come. And they've got to really be careful. I don't think they'll be playing as big, rough games as they will in the World Cup. They will have big games in the World Cup, I'm telling you now. So, also, we have started a Super Brew Rugby World Cup pool. I have started it, and it is... So, download the app Super Brew, and pretty much you download the app Super Brew, and then you go on to press this head in the corner. So, you've got the app, and you press this head here, and it'll show all of these letters down the side, and you'll say join a pool, and then go on to so there's World Cup Predictor, which is Rugby World Cup. There's World Cup Predictor up here, and then down here is Premier League somewhere down here. So just pick the one you want. So Premier League or World Cup for me. But you could also do whatever one. And so either put in Kiwi Sports Studio, which should have the right one. Yes, it will turn up there. And if you want the code is... The code is, I'll just find it here. So the code for the Rugby World Cup predictions pool is NIGHCEDE. I'll repeat that. So the Rugby World Cup predictions code for Super Brew is NIGHCEDE. And then for Premier League, it is Mood Bike. So MOODBIKE. I'll repeat that. Mood Bike, MOODBIKE. So really, please join. It'll be quite exciting. And you don't even have to join my thing. It's actually really quite exciting, the actual the just playing the game, and it's pretty much you just put your predictions in, you get amount of points, and that's pretty much all. And there's just like a ladder. It's only me in it so far, so please join. Got a Premier League one that started. I started it this week, and Rugby World Cup for the Rugby World Cup this year. So anyway, well, we've had a pretty crazy week, and altogether it's been really interesting. Like, a lot of things have been happening this week, and everything's showing that. Every sports field is showing that, and I can't wait to see you. I think it'll be next week. We'll probably have a podcast next week anyway, so come along next week. Please like and subscribe, and join my Super Brew rugby pool, please. Thank you. See you again.